I'm Kristen. Standing in the middle of the now silent ballroom, I watched as the truth dawned on everyone's faces. The screens were lit up with damning evidence of fraud, and the so-called heiress, Isabella, was screeching like a caged animal. My parents, once so full of adoration for her, now looked like deer in the headlights. It all started when I walked into my brother Ethan's engagement party. I was immediately struck by the dirt on my boots, a stark contrast to the opulence around me. Isabella, Ethan's supposed heiress fiancée, spotted me right away. "Look who decided to show up," she sneered. "The dirty farm girl is here." But what really made my blood boil was the vintage locket around her neck. It was my grandmother's, the one that was promised to me. When I looked at my mother, she just shrugged and said, "Isabella appreciates history, Kristen. You just get it dirty." I didn't lose my temper. Instead, I walked through the service entrance and made my way to the reserve cellar. The air down there was a constant 55 degrees, and it smelled of the French oak barrels and the fruits of my labor. Upstairs, they were sipping on my award, winning 2018 Cabernet, completely oblivious to the fact that I was the one who had blended it. I sat on a wooden crate and pulled out my phone. It was the first of the month, and the automatic transfer of $5,200 to my parents was scheduled for the next morning. For years, I had labeled it as estate dividends, making them believe it was from a small investment my grandma left. In reality, it was my hard-earned profit. I used to tell myself that I was sending the money out of duty to relieve their financial stress. But as I sat there, thinking about Isabella wearing my locket, I finally admitted the truth. I was like a gambler, hoping that if I fixed all their problems, they would finally love me. I thought love could be bought, but looking at that pending transfer, I realized it was a losing game. They took the money and used it to dote on Ethan and Isabella. I tapped the screen to cancel the recurring payment. A warning box popped up, but I was more certain than ever. I pressed confirm, and $5,200 stayed in my account. It was a small act, but it felt like a breath of fresh air after years of suffocation. I went back upstairs to watch the show. Isabella was on stage, giving a speech about her solar empire full of empty buzzwords. My parents were in the front row, looking at her with stars in their eyes, seeing their retirement plan and a chance at a high-class life. When Isabella took a sip of my 2015 Cabernet Sauvignon and wrinkled her nose, saying it was too acidic, I couldn't hold back. I stepped forward and explained that the acidity was intentional and it needed time to breathe. She mocked me, saying I was just a farmhand with no real knowledge. My parents laughed and sided with her, telling me to leave the thinking to the professionals. But I knew she was a fraud. When she introduced her parents, the Duke and Duchess of Solar, I recognized the man as Carl, an actor I had hired for a local festival 18 months ago. The Duchess, too, looked like an extra from the same agency. My parents were fawning over them, desperate for their approval. I realized then that they loved Isabella because she was a reflection of the wealthy and important people they wanted to be. I was the reminder of their humble beginnings, the reality they were trying to escape. I slipped out and called my forensic accountant, Lily. She quickly discovered that Isabella's company, Solar Tech Innovations, was a shell with no assets, and she was actually in debt. The person behind the company was a fugitive named Victoria. I walked back into the ballroom, took the microphone from my father's hand, and revealed the truth. The screen showed Isabella's fraud, the fake Duke exposed as an actor, and Victoria's mugshot. The room fell silent. Isabella lunged at me, but I had security escort her and her fake family out. My father stared at me in shock when he heard I was the owner of the estate. I told him I had bought the land, paid their bills, and that the money transfers were over. As dawn broke over the hills, I walked into the vineyard and fastened the locket around my neck. I was no longer the invisible laborer. I was the owner, and I finally knew my worth.